Now, I know you've seen this, what, a million times, and you're probably asking, well, why bring them up today? Why bring these scenes up today? The horror in these faces today. Terrorists flew planes into our buildings, and they killed thousands of people. And we're sitting here today, worried about waterboarding a few bad guys to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's pretty much the reaction of former Navy SEAL T Gilliam, who just can't believe it. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's, I mean, that says it all right there. You know, you just showed a video of a building collapsing where thousands of people died, and then one bad guy who was a mastermind who was waterboarded, and they're raising, you know, a ruckus about this, when the fact is waterboarding is an interrogation technique. It's not torture. It's not what John McCain went through. It's useful, not useless.
But what do you think of John McCain today saying he's had it with torture anyway? It doesn't yield any results. And contrary to what the Dick Cheneys of the world say, it's not worth it.
Well, I think torture is a very thin line to walk. I mean, you never want to really use torture. We don't condone it. And I'm not saying that the CIA did or didn't use torture. But see, you have to realize that there's a difference between the word torture and interrogation. Interrogation is where I create a situation that makes you feel like you're dying, or makes you feel scared, makes you react in a way that you give us the information. It's a little bit different, but similar to interviewing. When I was in the FBI and I interview you, I'm going to create a situation where you think I'm your best friend, and you let your guard down, you talk to me. When you do interrogation, you're forcing that guard down. Torture is different.
But how do you know that torture is yielding the answers you want?
Torture,
or just being pushed into giving you the answers you want?
When you go over into torture from interrogation, you're now going to a point where you're inflicting damage on somebody for little or no feedback at all. And it's basically to break a person's spirit overall, for just the sheer fact of breaking their spirit.
But you'd almost think we were chopping people's fingers off and dragging them off. All I know, some of the incidents I've seen out of ISIS and others with these beheadings, is they're a little rougher when it comes to dealing with types they don't want.
Well, that's called torture. See, what they're trying to do is impose fear with an absolute ending, which is going to be death, and they're trying to impose that fear also on the public. So they use something.
So that is psychological torture. That is scaring the you-know-what out of everyone who's witnessing it.
Which, putting terror in somebody is not terrorism. When you actually interrogate somebody, you're putting terror into them, but you're doing it in a controlled manner. You're not, the end game is not to kill them.
All right, so what happens if the world sees this entire report? You're saying what? That all our personnel are in trouble abroad? What?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I will tell you this. If one person dies, these are a couple things that we really need to look at. If one person dies because of the release of this, it was wrong, and the people that released it should be held accountable for and charged with murder.
Why do you think they did release it?
I have no idea. I mean, there's a lot of personal reasons for it, but you spent millions of dollars to do it. You're in an oversight committee. Why aren't you releasing that behind closed doors to the CIA? It's gotten to a point now, Neil, where they don't even have to leak stuff. They just write a report about it, and they release it. I mean,
and who puts it together, by the way?
That's a good question, because it's not the senators or the congressmen. If you're in an oversight committee, why aren't these people going and actually watching waterboarding? I'll volunteer myself if the congressman needs to learn. I've been waterboarded. Take me out and waterboard me so that the congressman can learn.
Why were you waterboarded? Just to go through the process? Or?
It was part of a training that I went through, but it wasn't fun, and it's a very terrifying thing. But you know what? I knew I was in the hands of these guys. Even if a terrorist doesn't know, it set the stage for me to be afraid, and that's what it was. It was basically a situation that these instructors could control.
Amazing. Jonathan, thank you very much.
Self-responsibility. That's what everybody needs to start being more responsible, including the politicians, before they release this stuff. There is almost like a systematic destruction. Law enforcement, intelligence, immigration. It's almost being systematically destroyed.
It's like you're popping a pin in a grenade.
Right.
All right, Jonathan, thank you.